Hey guys, welcome into the show. My name is Tyler Kluver. I'm a former Division 1 athlete. I now run a fitness coaching business as well as a sports media brand that creates podcasts, sells merchandise, and creates other exclusive content. This show is a place for me to document my thoughts on fitness, health, nutrition, maybe some business or mindset stuff, as well as update anyone listening on my own competitive fitness endeavors and life events. I want everybody that comes and listens to this show to take something away that can make their life better, whether it's a diet or fitness tip or a way of thinking about things that motivates you to be better in your own life. Hopefully we can get that done, but regardless, I'm glad you're here. Let's have a day. Let's go. All right, we're back from the Snap podcast, back from vacation. I'm tan. I've been in the sun for a week. Rosemary Beach, Florida, highly recommend if you're looking for a spot to go relax. Going to I have a lot of thoughts. We're in an interesting spot here. As I settle back in, I'm sure as everybody settles back in from a vacation, you sit down, you look at, you know, the work you have to catch up on, and you're like, all right, we got to lay all this out and figure out what the first step is to kind of get back into the routine. And for me, that's both. That kind of hits home both ways because the end of, we listened last week to me talk about the half marathon recap, body comp test, sort of the end of a journey, end of a prep 3-month period. Really, basically the first half of this year was dedicated to that half marathon and CrossFit in the beginning, and training relative to my normal volume and what I do in the gym on a day-to-day basis really kind of just came to a halt as that race peaked. And then we had a vacation, like I just said, we just got back from. And so we're in this weird spot where we're almost dead middle of the year. We haven't done any real working out in a month. Just, the running that we did to finish the prep and the half marathon. And we're also kind of getting back into the swing of things business-wise because as far as the Washed Up Walk-On stuff goes, all of that starts to pick up as the season rolls around. Twice as many people listen when football season is happening and it's relevant and it's current. Games are going on. We're recapping games, previewing games, all that stuff. And that kind of starts to pick up towards the end of the summer. And we're already in the first month of the summer, basically. So summer goes fast. So here we are. And I just sort of have 3 ideas that I want to throw out into the ether on today's episode because it's kind of just what came to mind on vacation while I actually had time to think and relax. Not that I don't on a normal day basis, but this was like an actual go away, put the phone away for most of the vacation, or at least put it down, lay on the beach, lay at the pool, no kid to worry about, no responsibilities to worry about, no work to really worry about, just relax and de-stress. And when you get opportunities like that, periods of time to do such a thing, at least for me, mentally, new things sort of open up. New ideas, new thoughts, new motivations, similar to the phenomena of when you go on a walk or you get in the shower and you get that personal time, little me time, uninterrupted, but you're also kind of it's a environment where the brain is kind of opened up and creative, your creativity is fostered and kind of churning. at full burn. Similar thing on vacation, at least for me. Um, in conjunction with that, obviously, to go to vacation, to go to Florida, you got to get on a plane, and so there's travel time where I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to the book I finished on vacation was Scars and Stripes by Tim Kennedy. Highly recommend. It'll be my recommendation for today. And that kind of runs you through his life, which is full of twists and turns and a lot of excitement. He's done a lot. He's been an operator in the military, a businessman, a UFC fighter, uh, firefighter, EMT, I mean, he's done it all. He now runs a school. He has multiple businesses. He's on TV. He's in TV shows. Um, he's done a lot, and so his life story was there's a lot to take away from that. And listen to some other fitness podcasts, the CrossFit semifinals, something that I aspire to compete in, kind of as the top, the peak, the pinnacle of what I think my fitness aspirations could be. Those wrapped up over the course of this past weekend when I was gone on vacation. So I was following that. Or I guess it wrapped up 2 weekends ago. But all of the podcasts that were recapping that last weekend were something that I listened to on this trip. And so the CrossFit competitive season and my own fitness competitive journey has been on my mind. And I think, and I'm laying these, I kind of have three things to just point out here and just offer a few thoughts on. There's no real breakdown or huge topic of this show, but the first thing that came out was that the journey really is the destination. You think of anybody who did anything cool or anything monumental or made this crazy climb to the top of whatever their industry or pursuit was. Call it business or Elon Musk with his SpaceX or Tesla or uh, the world record marathon holder or Tom Brady or it could be athletics, it could be outside of physical stuff. The greatest author, the greatest you name it in the world. And um, I always heard this, but now that my journey, that is the aforementioned journey, uh, has continued to be able to grow and get longer. It's not just anything before high school is like, okay, you haven't lived an adult life. You haven't done anything really yet. But now I'm a decade out from being in high school and being on my own and starting to create a life and a reputation and a life resume, if you will. Um, you start to see how much that is true. And I've started to figure out that the reason for that, and I don't know if it's some crazy concept, but the reason for that is because uh, the destinations are cool, like winning the tournament, winning the CrossFit competition, winning a Super Bowl, whatever is cool. But the reason it's cool is because it's signified by the trophy or the medal or the accolade or the title, right? But what that is signifying most of the time is the work that you've put in. And the way you can flip that and use it before you ever get to whatever your destination may be or the specific destination or goal is for what you're pursuing is knowing that when you're in the journey, and when you're working towards what whatever it is you're working towards, you can know and take solace in the fact that that's the value. That's the value. Specifically, in my area of CrossFit, we'll just use CrossFit as an example. It would be really cool if I could make the semifinals. 2025 semifinalist, CrossFit semifinalist. I would love that title. But what that would mean, what it would signify, would be all of the work and strategy and sweat and grind that goes into being fit enough to earn that title. Right? The title itself doesn't mean anything. It just signifies the work you've done. And the reason that's important is because all of that work and grind and sweat that I just mentioned, all of that does have value. You learn a lot through that. You forge who you are, and a lot of really, really great characteristics, at least in most pursuits of big, crazy achievements. You could probably forge some bad characteristics or traits too. But most of the time, you're forging and creating great habits, routines, disciplines as a human that are relevant towards probably more than just that pursuit. That's where the value is. That's why it's ultimately actually a cool thing. So, something I've been thinking about. And if you really want to get heady about something, um, it can be used as motivation when you don't have the destination or you haven't met. I've been pursuing competitive CrossFit for 3 seasons now. 3 seasons, maybe 2 seasons, 2.5 seasons, and I haven't. You know, I've competed in the quarterfinals each year, and I haven't gotten to that next step. But what I've done in 3 years, discipline wise, health wise, strength wise, specifically within fitness, I've elevated myself far beyond where I ever was. So you have to understand that you're moving forward, even when sometimes the accolades or the titles say you may not be. Second thing, failing is the best way to success. And this sort of goes with the last point, and this I think this came from the Tim Kennedy book too, because his book is a lot about how often he's failed or uh, done poorly or lost a fight or whatever, and how that made him into a person who has also experienced a lot of success. A lot of time, this one's simple. Most of the time, and pull it back to what the goal or whatever the aspirations we just talked about. Most of the time, people will not achieve something or get to a certain status or uh, whatever because they don't try. They don't even attempt because they're scared that maybe not scared, but they don't want to fail. They don't want to not get something. They don't want to put themselves out there and then have that effort be wasted or quote unquote be wasted. And again, this circles back to it's not if you get there or not. It's the effort that you put in makes it's worth it. Regardless of if you get the goal you're trying to achieve, the work you're putting in is worth it. And so the best way to succeed is to try everything multiple times, as much as you can. Because through that, your fail rate in life is not going to be 100%. You will succeed sometimes, maybe a lot. Maybe you'll succeed most of the time. Who knows? But you definitely won't know if you don't try. And so, you think about people like inventors or authors or some athletes or artists or you name it, and they don't break out for years. And you suddenly learn about somebody even comedians. You just suddenly someone seems to have that overnight success, the overnight fame, and then you learn that they've been doing their thing for almost a decade, and people just caught up, or they just now started to get good enough or uh, perform good enough that people are starting to recognize it. And I think it's really, really important to remember that. And sometimes I think this could be used as an excuse, but man, I like the concept. You think about people like, the most respected doctor that I like to follow, Peter Attia. He's popped off just recently, and I would say the last maybe, basically since his first appearance on Rogan, which might have been in the mid 20 teens. He's, I think, almost 50 years old. So it was till his mid 40s till that guy got, popular. Rogan himself didn't start his podcast until he was 42. Sure, he was doing well. He was a mixed martial artist of his own who had been pretty good on a regional level, I think, maybe a national level. Um, he was running a couple TV shows, Fear Factor, other stuff. But what he's known for, what he's made all of his fortune doing, he didn't start that. He didn't even start it until he was 42 years old. I think of Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a media marketing advertising agency head of VaynerMedia. This is his whole thing. It's like, you've got time. You have to put in the work. He was running his parents' wine store, brick and mortar, till he was like in his mid 30s. Didn't even start his marketing agency until his late 30s, like 40 years old. Didn't become a huge social media icon or personality until his mid 40s, almost 50. And then I just think about things like, I'm 29, you know. Um, and then a lot of the CrossFit athletes, like I know a lot of athletes who, and I'm hoping this is a story uh, of mine. I hope people find out when I make a semifinal and maybe make a little noise at one or two of the events. Like, oh, this guy's been, he was a D1 athlete 10 years ago, and now he's just been doing CrossFit for the last 8, 9 years, and he finally made a semifinal. Like, I just, I just want that long game to play out. And this kind of goes along with the final point, which is just like caring what other people think. Um, a lot of what holds you back, other than fear of failure or just not wanting to fail, or patience, or the worry of wasted effort, all these things we've been discussing, is the opinion of others. And this one gets more and more evident to me every year. Um, but on vacation, my wife and I are in a different state. We're 1,500 miles away from home. Nobody there knows us. Nobody knows who I am. We'll never see those people again. The people who are at the restaurant sitting next to us or waiting on us, or the people who are sitting in the little community area listening to music at night, as the day would wind down, or the people next to us at the pool or on the beach. And it would just be, I had this free feeling, this sense of, I can be as funny and as goofy and as weird as I want to be down here, because none of these people are ever going to see me again. And it really brings to the forefront that idea that, like, when you have true freedom from what people think of you, you do not care. Not just like you say you don't care, but internally, when it's just you yourself thinking in your own head, and you actually realize, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. That is like true power. And I think it should honestly be the goal. Like, if you can work towards getting as close to that as you can. And I understand that the system that we live in for most people doesn't allow this, because you have a boss and you have a family, and your livelihood depends on a little bit of your reputation. Not that, like, not caring what other people think means you have to, like, go and be an asshole and just have a horrible reputation. But, if you're part of the system, you do have to, sort of answer to some people or um, hold your tongue in certain places, all this stuff. And being on vacation and not having a single person I'll likely never see a single one of the hundreds of people I just saw this past week again in my life. And it's just this fun little like microcosm scenario that's like you can be as silly as goofy as you want, making noises and jokes to my wife, dancing in front of people, being silly. It's it makes you think of about how much you can bring back, how much of that you can bring back to your everyday life. So that's all we got today. TylerKluber.com. Hit me in the DMs if you need fitness tips. I'm always programming for people. Um, don't be soft. Your excuses aren't valid. Go get it done. We'll talk more about what my training looks like and how we're going to build volume starting next week.